Welcome to the Leading with Purpose. Each episode is an exciting journey, offering an exclusive opportunity to hear from Vermont's impactful leaders. Whether from the fields of business, government, or the nonprofit sectors, these leaders share their personal and professional experiences, unveiling the challenges and achievements that have shaped their paths. Leading with Purpose elevates itself by providing viewers with an insider's look at dynamic organizations that promote positive change throughout Vermont. Join us on this transformative journey as Leading with Purpose unveils the stories of leaders shaping organizations and transforming Vermont with purpose-driven leadership. Discover the power of leadership that goes beyond success, leaving a legacy of positive change in its trail. Welcome everyone. We have very important guest today from Snelling Center, Jody Fried. He's the director of Vermont Leadership Institute. Thank you for being here today and sharing your leadership mindset and perspective with us. I'm really curious to learn more from you about your leadership vision. So welcome again. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you. So I have some questions for you to understand your leadership perspective in a more detailed way. And I will go and start with the first one. So can you provide a brief overview of your leadership journey and how it led you to where you are today?
Sure. So I would say it's been in 3 phases professionally as an adult. Right out of college, I got a job in the corporate world, and it was a time of mergers and acquisitions and lots of real upward motion very quickly, and so I was exposed to lots of things at a very high level right out of college, and got to participate with all different levels of leadership, from the CEO of a company that was doing $3 billion in annual revenues and being a part of that leadership team, to also being boots on the ground and seeing how that leadership impacted our clients out in the field, our staff, and had what I would say is just a very intense introduction to leadership over the course of 5 years at a very young age, and learned a lot. Could not have traded that experience for anything else in the world. Also learned that it wasn't necessarily the path that I wanted to go on. And then had kids and decided that I would like to try and go into business for myself. And so then spent almost a decade in an entrepreneurial mode back here in Vermont, and both to raise a family here and be here where we had the support of our family, because this is where I'm from. But also it was an incredible time to be starting small businesses and to be doing the entrepreneurial side of things. And then after about a decade of that, which got me very involved in community and in this, at both the local level, regional level, state level, I decided that it was time to go a different path, and that's when I started my role with Catamount Film and Arts as the executive director. That was 15 years ago in 2008, and started a path of more public service and in the nonprofit world, and working deeply within community, and to hopefully make the place where I spend my time and my family spends my time and my friends a better place. And that's where I exist today with lots of different roles.
I know, like you just summarized very briefly, but I can imagine from like private sector intense leadership, then going different paths, then nonprofit. It must be really different worlds to use different leadership styles. Because my next question is about how would you describe your leadership style, and how has it evolved over the course of your career, and how your leadership contributes to both organizational success and community impact?
Well, I would say that the style has evolved over time, and I would say my style is very cooperative and to work in a way with by building a team and then letting folks with the best people I can around me do what they do best and get out of their way, provide support. And I try and do that every day. I also try and create connections, and it's really interesting because the world we're living in today is so complex. And so the role of a leader, you're changing every day. You have to be agile. You're adjusting based on the circumstances. So there's moments where you have to be in a very decision-making mode, and a crisis hits, a flood hits. In the world of event management with Catamount Arts, something happens at a show and you have to take control of that moment. And in that moment, your leadership style is very different than perhaps when you're bringing people together to plan for an event, where you're then bringing community leaders together, developing relationships. I would say what I've found over time is that in the preparation, in the relationships that you build, in the trust that you build, and the people that you bring together, that then as you move between the different leadership styles based on the moment and what you're facing, it's those relationships that are key to success, and the ability for you to trust in each other in those moments, that everybody is going to do what they need to do, and that we're not going to always get it right. You're doing your best when you're in the moment. You've done a ton of preparation, you get to that moment, it happens. And then one of the key things I think in today's world is, in order to be able to adapt and stay relevant, in order to continue to deal with the complex systems we're dealing with, is you have to then be able to go back and look at what you did and change, iterate, make sure that you're addressing things the best that you can, and so that the next time things come up, you're hopefully doing it better. But I would say over time, what I've learned the most is that just those relationships are, no matter where you're at in the arc of decision making and your business, your entity, your organization, your community, it's the relationships that are the most important. And I think if you look at system theory and you look at the ability for people to stay in a thriving mode, it consistently comes back to the relationships they have around them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. So I hear collaboration, connection, and adaptability as like key terms. I bet you have like so many examples to give to explain this concept to us, but can you share a specific initiative or project where your organization or you as an individual leader has made a meaningful contribution to the local community?
Sure. So, one of the things I've been most proud of is the work that I've done with an organization called the NEK Collaborative, and I've held different positions within that organization. It's a cross-sector organization where we've brought together throughout all the different systems in Vermont. So you have housing, you have your financial sector, you have your creative sector, you have manufacturing. We've brought together an organization that represents all of the leaders within those different sectors, and that organization then works in the Northeast Kingdom to create a strategic framework for both economic and community development that works with all of those different entities working together in alignment. So it's focused around alignment. And I've been involved with that organization over 20 years. And that organization has just had a tremendous impact on our region. And again, a big part of that is the connections, all the things that you just brought up, but bringing those organizations together, the entities, the people who are working within those sectors, and looking for the interconnected moments. Where is there intersection within those different worlds? People exist in their world, they're doing their thing every day, and yet we're so infinitely connected now in this world that we're living in. And by bringing people together and creating a structure, a framework to do that, we've created a way for us as a region to really be forward-looking and to be able to react in the moment when there is a flood, when there is a national disaster, when there's a college system that's in flux, when there's different things happening. We can come together as a region to have a conversation about what does it need to be for us to solve that works for everybody, and it's going to work for everybody in different ways. And so that's been a really big learning experience, and for me personally, but also something that I'm really proud of for all of the people who have been involved with that over the years to create the vehicle for success for our region in the Northeast Kingdom. And if you go into the Northeast Kingdom now and see some of the work that's being done, you go into the towns, you look at the region as a whole, it's really manifesting itself in a way that's exciting. You're seeing vibrancy, you're seeing connection, you're seeing people coming together and convening in ways that they haven't in the past, that is welcoming and inclusive, and we're really excited about that. We have a long ways to go, but at least we have this mechanism to bring people together across sectors in a formal way in our community to be able to make that happen.
So maybe when people or leaders or organizations collaborate with each other, the result will be easier to see and maybe faster, right? We can get results in a faster way. And it is important when people work together to have some kind of purpose. And in what ways do you believe a purpose-driven leadership can transform not only organization, but also entire communities?
Yeah, I think alignment on a personal level is so important. So, over time, and leadership is a journey. It's not an end result. It's something that over time that you're experiencing and you're changing with it. But in order for you to be successful, in order for you to sustain yourself as a human being, for you to be happy, for you to be able to be successful because you give everything you can to that, whatever it is that you're working on, there has to be alignment with what you believe in and what you feel is important in your life. And so I think a big part of leadership over time, and as we work with leaders within the Vermont Leadership Institute, it's working with folks to have that internal conversation with themselves of what is it that they need to be doing that is going to be fulfilling them and filling their cups over time. They can sustain that. And I think that purpose-driven leadership, the most important advice I would have to anybody is to make sure that purpose is in alignment with what you believe in, and that you have choices. If it's not in alignment, you can try and work with the organization to move it into alignment and make change that way. But if that's not working for you, then another option obviously would be to try and figure out a different path for yourself. And I think that that there's nothing more important over time than figuring out what that alignment is. And I'll share on the personal end, that was a big part of my journey and where I end up working with the arts and with Catamount. I'm not an artist, but having the experience I did, I felt the community side of the arts and bringing people together was really where I could help. And I love the arts. I love being around creativity and curiosity every day. So every day I go into work, even though it's extremely difficult and the work is hard and put in tons of hours, I love what I'm doing. And because of that, there's a feedback loop where I get fulfilled with the work that I'm doing. And so every leader needs to work through, and at different points in your life, different things might give you that joy. So you might find different roles over time, but it's so important.
Yeah, it is. And you explained a bit like I've done this, I have done, but can you share a success story, like a specific one that highlights that approach, like purpose-driven leadership? Anything comes to your mind?
Well, I'll share with Catamount Arts. So I started with Catamount in 2008, and in 2009 we looked at the whole organization and we created a new strategic plan around the organization, which was really to be more outward facing rather than inward facing, and how could we have an impact on the communities we were living in, working in. And based on that, we started to look at how did we fit in with the rest of the different organizations that were not arts or culture or did not label themselves as that. And so we started this journey of really trying to integrate Catamount into the fabric across all the different aspects of our community, whether that was education, healthcare, working with small businesses. And over time we've done that. We've done a lot of research around that, And we've really become, I think, a leader in trying to figure out how do the arts act as a catalyst within communities to bring forward not only the benefits of health and well-being and empathy, the human side of it, but also the economic side. And that work that we did has slowly kind of worked its way outward. We worked then with the state of Vermont. There's the Vermont Creative Network was formed by the legislature in 2016 to replicate the Farm to Plate network, and I've chaired that since it was created. We took a lot of that research that was done in the Northeast Kingdom with the organization that I'm involved with there and other organizations around the state, and we put together a framework for a strategic plan for the state of Vermont's creative network. We worked on it with over 1,000 people participating during COVID. It was a good time. People came in over Zoom. We created a new strategic plan for the state of Vermont for the creative sector, and that has been a platform for us to then go to the legislature and be in every committee room and state government to start getting out there into every select board meeting, every planning commission meeting, and start to really have these conversations about how can arts, culture, and creativity be a part of the solution and be a part of creating vibrant communities here in Vermont.
Yeah, great example. So I have one more question for you, but do you want to add anything before moving the last question, in addition to all the things I've asked to you?
No, my only thought when you asked me to do this is, I mean, everybody has leadership in them, and that's why I say it's a journey, and leadership manifests itself in so many different ways. It could be, the coaching on a ball field. It could be to the working with an after-school program. It can be serving in town government, but I mean, all different levels leadership. It can be in our households with our families, and I encourage everybody out there to lean into that. That I think for this idea of purpose-driven leadership, for me at least, at the heart and soul of that is how do we use what we have in terms of our talents, what we bring every day to make our communities and the state of Vermont here a better place. And I think if we all start to look at that and embrace that, it's just infinite possibilities here in Vermont.
Yeah, there is. And sometimes, although we do meet lots of people, we collaborate with lots of people who have same goals and passion like us, still leading teams or being a leader sometimes kind of a lonely place. So we need some kind of inner motivation, and sometimes we need to repeat some statement or quotes to ourselves. So can you please share a leadership quote or statement with us that inspire you in your leadership journey?
Yeah. A leader who had a profound impact on me, a mentor, was by the name of Greg McDonald in the Northeast Kingdom. And he gave me the advice to trust the dance. And I think that it can be interpreted lots of different ways, but in the complex systems that we're in, there isn't a linear path. It's not that you just make a decision and then there's, it's the right decision and an outcome occurs, because everything is so connected. When you make a decision, you're having impacts all over the place. So if you can surround yourself with people that you trust and build a trusted network, if you can do the preparation, if you can create the choreography, to use the metaphor, and then you rehearse and you bring the best people and train them to be in those different roles, then there is a moment when the lights go up on stage where you need to trust that moment and trust the dance itself and be a part of that dance. When the dance is over, you can have your ad hoc and you can look at it and you can decide if the next way there's better ways to do it. But if everybody goes into that dance prepared and you've put all of those things in the motion, then trusting the dance is my saying that I love. So we say that a lot in the teams that I work with, that there's a point where you leap off and you have to trust the moment and trust the people around you as a team. and trust that everything that you've done will be enough. And you know, if you read about elite teams, whether it be the SEALs in the military or elite athletic teams or NASA when they're doing launches they all say the same thing. They do all of that, but then in the moment, they have to trust that the people around them are doing everything that they need to be successful.
Yeah, it was nice to hear this from you again, because I hear this every month. I am one of the participants of the Vermont Leadership Institute, and you are doing a great job with the team. That program has really changed me, and I hope it will change my leadership life, my leadership journey. But so far, I can feel such a difference in me as an individual. Thank you, all the things you are doing through that program, but also you explain so many things you are also in part of as a leader and individual in your community, in state wise. So it was very nice to hear all these things from you. It was a great conversation. I don't know how the time flew. And thank you for answering my questions and being here and support our program. And as you said, having a purpose is so important for leaders, and hearing your purpose and your calling, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to have been here.
As we conclude another inspiring episode of Leading with Purpose, we want to express our appreciation for joining us on this transformative journey. Throughout this series, we have had the privilege of delving into the lives and leadership styles of Vermont's most impactful individuals. The exclusive journey we have shared have allowed us to hear firsthand from influential leaders across the business, government, and nonprofit sectors. We have gained a unique understanding of what it truly means to lead with purpose. The heart of Leading with Purpose lies in its commitment to showcasing leaders who are committed to giving back to their communities, demonstrating how leadership extends far beyond office walls. We hope you have been inspired by the generous actions of these extraordinary individuals, seeing firsthand how leadership can make a lasting impact on the community. We invite you to continue on this journey with us as Leading with Purpose explores the stories of leaders who are not only shaping their organizations, but also transforming Vermont through purpose-driven leadership. Thank you for being a part of this inspiring community, and we look forward to sharing more impactful stories of leadership and purpose in the episodes to come.